Hi and welcome to the iPhone 6 videos. In this video we'll talk about the Maps app on your phone and I'll show you how to use it, some of the tips that will help you get the most out of it. So this version of Maps is the Apple Maps. In the older versions of the iPhone and iPad, Apple shipped Google Maps, but they've since become unfriendly and now Apple has its own version of the mapping software. You can still download and install Google Maps if that's something you prefer using, and you do that through your App Store. So if we open up Apple Maps, it's just a pretty standard mapping software. It integrates GPS and it will also give you turn-by-turn navigation. So if we take a look at the interface, in the top left you'll see an arrow. That arrow is where you go in to initiate turn-by-turn navigation. And it will bring up this interface. So you've got your start and your end destinations, and then you've got any previous searches that we've done. And I'll show you how to populate those later on. This box here is where we enter in addresses or things that we're looking for. So if we tap on that, we can access our favorites, and then you'll see across the bottom we've got recents and contacts. So if I was to tap on this little favorite that I've got here, it would automatically find that place on the map. I can go to recents, and these are all the searches that I've conducted previously. I can clear that list as well if there's things in there that I don't want people to know that I've looked at, and then I can go to contacts. So you can see that most of these are grayed out, and the reason for that is because they do not contain an address. However, there is one that I can select, and that's Lady Luck, and that's because within her contact I have included an address. So I would just need to tap that and it will automatically take me to Lady Luck's location. From there I can just set up quick navigation by pressing the little car icon, and I'll show you how to do that a little later. You'll also notice a little box in the top right. We use that box to share locations, and if I tap on that right now, nothing really happens, and that's because I don't have anything selected. If I select Lady Luck's pin and then tap the box, options present. So what I can do is I can share this location, and you're going to share either via text message or email. If we press more, you can just reorder those two options by pressing these little fields here. You've also got add to favorites, but this one was already in our favorites, and then we can print, and then we've got more, which again doesn't really do a great deal. You would use add to favorites if you've just done a search, and then you can tap the pin, press that little box and add that to your favorites. But I'm more interested in sharing this location. So if I want to give this drop pin to a friend of mine, I would just press message, for example, and it would create a message with the location to that map. So then when they get the message, all they need to do is tap on this little mud map and it will automatically show up in their version of Apple Maps, provided they're using Apple Maps on their iPhone. Now if they've got Google Maps, or they've got an older version of an iPhone, then the drop pin location will show up in the Google Maps app or on the Google Maps website. So it just creates an easy way to share locations. You don't need to send people addresses. And you can also do this for your current location, and I'll show you that later on as well. So if we continue down to the bottom right, you'll see the eye, and if we press that, it gives us the ability to change views. So we can go from standard, which is what we're currently in, to hybrid, which will give us a physical view and also the standard map, or we can just go to satellite. From here we can just move the map around, we can zoom in as per normal, zoom out. We can also rotate this map. So we use our two fingers and rotate the map around like so. You've also got a little scale at the top left, but you'll also notice in the top right, and I know it's a little bit harder to see, a little round circle which is a compass, and inside there is a little red arrow pointing to north. So no matter how you orient this map, it will always show you which direction north is. Another little neat feature that we've got with this satellite view is the 3D aspect. So if we use our two fingers and push forward, you'll see that it creates everything in 3D, and we can just rotate and move around, and it gives us a really great view of how things might look in that location. Obviously it's not as realistic as a picture, but it's still quite good and it helps you orient yourself. Now this isn't available for every location, so it really just depends on how good the data is. And you can just use two fingers to come back and bring us back to that normal above view. Press I, and then we can drop a pin, but I've found it easier to just drop a pin if we want in this location like so. Long press and we can drop a pin. We can do show 3D map, which is what we were in just a moment ago. You can also report a problem and show traffic. So it will also include traffic updates for some locations and just show you a display on particular roads what that traffic might be like. So if it's in red, it's obviously going to be quite congested. Once you've dropped a pin, there are a number of functions that you can perform. So I mentioned earlier, if we tap the little blue car, we can navigate to that area from our current location. But you can see a little arrow in the right hand side of this box. If you tap that, it brings up a bit of information about that location. So you've got the address, you can get directions to and from here, and that would create turn-by-turn navigation. You can use this address to create a new contact. So if we know that our friend Marcy lives there, we can create a new contact. We can add this particular address to an existing contact, and then we can remove the pin. So there is no other way to remove the pin except by doing what we've just done and then selecting remove. If we tap the little box up here, it gives us the ability to share this location again. We can also add it to favorites. So we could drop a pin, quickly go in here and add this to favorites. So if I just tap that, I can rename it to something a little bit better. If I choose, I can clear this input by pressing the little X here and then typing in whatever I want and pressing save. Once we're finished, press map to go back. Now, depending where you are, you can also get a 3D view from this standard view. To zoom in quickly with one hand, you can just double tap and it will take you all the way in. And if we go into somewhere that's quite populated, you can start to see buildings are appearing. If I continue to zoom in and then go into the 3D view by sliding 2 fingers forward, you can see that it starts to lift buildings out of the ground. So it's another way to orient myself without using the actual satellite view. And lastly, on the interface, we've got this little icon over here. And this takes us to our current location. So we can browse around and have a look at the maps. And then once we want to know where we physically are, we just tap this little icon here. Now, if this message pops up for you, it just means that location services isn't enabled for your Maps application. What that basically means is the Maps app cannot connect to your GPS device that's on your phone. And that could be because you didn't enable it when you first set up your phone, or it could be that you've set some restrictions and disabled location services. So from here we can just press settings, which will take us directly into the relevant area. If you go down, you will see for maps I've got never, and I would just need to go in here and select while using this app and then go back into maps, and if I press that icon again, it will take me to my current location. Once we've pressed that current location and Maps has taken us to that area, you'll see the icon has changed. You've got this blue pulsating icon in the middle of the screen. You'll also notice a blue hue around the icon, and that represents the accuracy of your current location. So you may find on cloudy days, and if you're in remote areas, you'll get a very large blue hue, and that means that the map accuracy isn't quite as good. So the smaller that hue, the more accurate your current location is. If I tap the current location icon again, it changes the icon, and it also changes my current location icon, and it gives me what looks like a blue headlight at the top of my icon, and that represents the direction that I'm traveling in. So as I orient my phone and as I travel in a particular direction, that top facing blue hue will always represent the location I'm traveling in, and it will change the map around as I change directions. So that's quite a handy little feature if you're looking to orient yourself.